Good day, everyone. I am Mr. Maico de Mebia Pirocho from the AB English Language Program of the University of Mindanao, and I am here to present my research entitled A Critical Discourse Analysis of Political Doublespeak, Philippine Sonas in Focus. The very reason why I would like to conduct this study is for me to be able to see what are the different features of the political speeches used by the Philippine presidents from history up to the present. And this study is also very relevant considering that nowadays we really need to choose the best leaders for our country. Hence, knowing their platforms through their discourses used in various political speeches will definitely be one of the stepping stones for us to clearly identify who among the political candidates has the most convincing discourses for the people. Don just in 2009 claimed that the words we write or speak are an expression of one's inner thoughts and personalities. And this is proven not only in linguistic research works, but also in various psychological research works, citing that human words definitely is a projection of emotions, thoughts, and even sets of principles and ideologies. Rach in 2013 cited that the fact that there is some relation between language and political thoughts, and that the language politicians use can up to a certain degree influence people's political thoughts, has become widely accepted by linguistic scholars. This has become one of the many reasons why there are some linguists or even linguistic scholars who have delved into studies focusing on political speeches because they believed that there is this mystery behind the words used by our politicians. That is why most politicians also find it easier for them to convince the audience in terms of their platforms or other political ideologies. People have become a nation whose politicians twist words into new meanings so they can lie in ways that sound truthful. Doublespeak has become a malignant art form, creating words that obscure or distort their actual meaning, said Smith in 2014. And this has become also one of the alarming problems when it comes to political discourses because nowadays, some of our politicians have used words in order for them to manipulate or maneuver the minds of the public, making them believe that whatever they tell them or whatever they say on the Philippine TV or other multimedia are true and based on facts only. Orwell in 1964 posed that in our time, it is broadly true that political writing is bad writing. And this is specifically true as reflected or evidenced in the political discourses of our presidents. So before we proceed further, let us discuss what's doublespeak. Doublespeak is language that pretends to communicate but really does not. It is language that makes the bad seem good, the negative appear positive, the unpleasant appear attractive or at least tolerable. It is language which conceals or prevents thought rather than extending thought. Doublespeak limits it. Therefore, the presence of doublespeak in political discourses is also risky because it only means that the more politicians use doublespeak in their speeches, the more they conceal the truth from the general audience or the public. So there are four types of doublespeak, and these are inflated language, euphemism, gobbledygook, and jargons. So the aims of this study include first, identifying the commonly used forms of doublespeak of each president in their speeches. Second is determining the presidents who ranked first in using each form of doublespeak. And lastly is to point out common themes of the reasons why each form of doublespeak was used in a political speech. And this is based on the theories of Lutz in 1990 and Orwell in 1969. As to the research methodology, I used qualitative approach in unraveling the phenomenon, the linguistic phenomenon in this study. And for me to be able to understand the ideologies and as well as the linguistic features used in the political speeches, critical discourse analysis was also employed. For the materials for analysis, full and original texts of the last State of the Nation addresses of each of the 12 former presidents, from Sergio Osmeña down to Ninoy Aquino III, retrieved from the official Gazette, were used as the primary source of texts for analysis. And for the procedure, there were two phases. Phase one includes access, retrieval, printing, and familiarization of the materials for analysis, while phase two includes the extraction of the doublespeak from the source of text, meaning making, analysis, and interpretation of data. Now, let me proceed to the presentation of the results. As to the first aim of this research, which was more on identifying the doublespeak extracted from the sample text or the State of the Nation addresses of the 12 purposively selected presidents, I was able to identify four based on Lutz's classification of doublespeak in 1990. And these are euphemism, which is a word that makes a bad situation less offensive or vulgar; inflated language, which is a word used to create a good impression. We also have gobbledygook, which includes terms, phrases, or sentences that are meant to create confusion. And we also have jargons. These are special terms fully understood by a certain profession or group only. Now, here are some examples for euphemisms taken from the State of the Nation addresses of the various presidents considered in this study. So as you can see here, these are the euphemisms or the terms used by these presidents in order for them to conceal what is actually true or what is actually happening in the country. Now, the primary reason for the use of these euphemisms is for them to conceal the truth from the public, or maybe to at least lessen the alarm or the scandal that this statement could have caused to the audience once they heard these lines coming from the president's reports. And then there were also inflated language, primarily to add an air of importance not only to some individuals, but also to some special programs or projects implemented during their regime. So here are some examples of inflated language present in the State of the Nation addresses of these Philippine presidents. And then there were also gobbledygook statements, lengthy statements containing profound words, which also cause confusion to the audience, to the listeners. And then, of course, there are jargons or the highly technical terms used in the State of the Nation addresses. So as you can see, most of these jargons are legal in nature, so definitely ordinary people or ordinary citizens of the country could not really understand what these jargons meant. Now, as to who among the presidents have had the most number of doublespeak usage in their State of the Nation addresses, well, all of these non-prose materials could tell us who among those 12 presidents did. And first one, in terms of euphemism, it was actually President Ferdinand Marcos who used the most number of euphemism in his State of the Nation addresses. Same goes with the inflated language. It was still Ferdinand Marcos. And then for the gobbledygook statements, it was President Elpidio Quirino, who also ranked first in terms of the use of jargons in the State of the Nation addresses. Now, as to the reasons why these doublespeak were used, so there was a social and political context analysis. Since this was a critical discourse analytic research, I anchored my research on the theories of Lutz in 1990 and Orwell in 1969 to really determine the possible reasons for the use or the existence of this doublespeak in the State of the Nation addresses. First one was in terms of the use of euphemism. This doublespeak was used to conceal a negative situation, avoid negative label to a person or group, hide flaws or loopholes, most especially for the programs that have had different problems encountered during the implementation. And then there were also numerous instances of the presence of inflated language, which was used to give an air of significance to people or the president's program, most especially those programs that contributed a lot to the progress of the country. And then there was also a number of gobbledygook statements, which was primarily used to overwhelm the audience with words, confuse, or complicate, basically to add more significance to the statements or to sound more intelligent with the statements uttered. And then lastly, there were jargons, which were technical terms used to stress profundity and authority, most especially if the presidents wanted to sound very authoritative or very factual or fact-based in their speeches. While this study is a simple discourse analysis of the linguistic features and determination of the different ideologies present in the State of the Nation addresses of the Philippine presidents, and this also focused on understanding double meanings present in the speeches, it is still further recommended that more studies on political discourse analysis must be done by linguists or scholars in the field. Through this, more explorations on the richness of political discourse analysis, not only in the country but also across the globe, will be truly appreciated by our academics or scholars in the field. And then, Philippine presidents and officials must use simple and direct language in addressing the public. Most especially with the presence of jargons and gobbledygook statements, it will be very difficult for the public to understand the main content of the State of the Nation addresses, which are supposed to be the reports of the accomplishments of an administration of a president. Hence, the use of simple language will be very beneficial for ordinary citizens to understand the gist of the speeches. And the law must interject that Filipino language be used as a medium language during sonas and other speeches addressed to the general public, as this concerns the public. And when we talk about public communication, it has to be understood and consumed effectively by the public, using the language of their preference or the language of their comprehension. And lastly, applied linguists must study about political language and personality, and perhaps further studies on the connections between doublespeak, deception, and attitude or behavior could also be explored by academics in the field. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, my research entitled A Critical Discourse Analysis of Political Doublespeak, Philippine Sonas in Focus. I am now ready for the questions. Thank you very much for watching this video presentation.